Someone once said that we make our decisions, and then our decisions turn around and make us. And when it comes to our relationship with technology, that's never been more true. We decided over these last couple decades to digitize almost every aspect of our lives. Our entertainment, our news, our shopping, our education, dating, friendships, communication, banking. We've digitized all of it, and in return, we've been and we are being shaped by this new digital world that we've created. More than just being shaped, we're being actually, in some instances, remastered. Like it's taking over control of aspects of our lives in an unhealthy way. And the evidence is growing that this digital world, in particular things like social media and whatnot, have an unhealthy grip on us. For the next several weeks, we're going to explore the different ways this digital world has negatively impacting our relationship with God and relationship with others, and discover how God can rescue us and redeem our relationships and help us put it in its right place in our lives. Now look, there aren't any Bible passages. You can read through the whole Bible. You won't find any mention of Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or YouTube or Animal Crossing or Xbox or PlayStation or streaming packages or cell phones and smartphones or cable. You won't find any of that there. But God's Word speaks very clearly about what happens when we let things remaster us and have control in our lives. I want to jump into a part of a letter that Paul sent to Christians living in one of the big cities of his day a couple thousand years ago. They were in danger of being remastered by the culture they were living in. They were in danger of just going with the flow and being like everybody else. And Paul wanted them to recognize that in doing that and allowing certain things to have control of them, it was ruining their relationship with one another and how they treat people, and it was ruining their relationship with God and knowing who they truly were. The same is true for us. What we struggle with might be a little different than what they struggled with, but the same truth, the same principle is there for us. So listen to what God inspired Paul to write. It's from 1 Corinthians chapter 6. It's on the screen. It's in our app if you want to follow along there and take notes there. You can do that. But this is what he says to them. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12. He starts by quoting them. This is what they say at first. I have the right to do anything, you say. But then he points out to them, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. So understand, they're following a philosophy that I am free. I am free. They're following the philosophy in the song, the Rolling Stones song, I'm Free. I don't know how many of you know that. I'm free to do what I want any old time. You remember that song? Keith Richards, Mick Jagger wrote this 2,000 years after the people Paul's writing to, but it's the same idea. I'm free to do what I want any old time. I'm free, and so I can do what I want. And for them, that freedom was partly because they felt like we're Roman citizens, so we're free, we get to do what we want, but also because they'd become Christians. And they looked at, hey, we don't have to follow all those, Jewish religious laws, right? Paul, you've talked to us about that. We are free in Jesus. God created us to be free. We're free to do what we want. I have the right to do anything. It doesn't sound much different than someone today would think, right? I have rights, and I have the right to do what I want. And yes, it's true. God created us to be free creatures. But listen very carefully to what I say here next. Freedom doesn't mean that whatever I choose to do is good. Freedom isn't good if I choose to do something not good, right? That just makes sense. So a thing isn't good just because I'm free to do it. There has to be more to that. There are some things I'm free to do that won't be helpful, that won't be beneficial, that will in the end turn around and harm me. If my house is on fire, I'm free to throw a can of gas on it, but that's not going to be helpful, is it? If I'm hungry, I'm free to eat a box of Twinkies, except for Christina might get in the way. But I'm pretty much, if she's not around, I'm free to eat a box of Twinkies, but that's not helpful. That's not beneficial. When you go to the doctor here in the U.S., some of you will remember this, especially if you sign up for, or you go to a new doctor, you got to fill out all the paperwork, and they usually ask you, do you smoke and do you drink? Because people, you're free to do that, but they're harmful to you, and they need to know because that's going to impact your health and impact their evaluation of you. Do you smoke and do you drink? If we were in the Netherlands, you know what else they would ask you? They would ask you, do you eat black licorice? Because black licorice, eaten in mass amounts, is really harmful for you. And people in Europe, in particular in the Netherlands, eat lots and lots of black licorice. Some of you may have heard a story from January of this year. There was a guy in the U.S. who switched from the red cherry licorice, which isn't really licorice, it's fake stuff, to the real black licorice, and started eating a bag or two of it a day. He was free to do it. He did it for 2 or 3 weeks until he died of a heart attack because of it. Because there's an acid in black licorice that reduces your potassium levels, and he got to the point where his heart just gave up, and he died. I'm free to do what I want, but not everything is going to be good for me. Not everything's beneficial. Some of the things that you and I might use our freedom on might turn around and take our lives, master us, ruin us. And here's the principle I want us to, the idea today I want you to hold in your head. What's okay stops being okay when it no longer needs your okay to be part of your life. What's okay stops being okay when it no longer needs your okay to be part of your life. In other words, when it begins to take control and master you and you don't have control over it anymore. It may have been okay. Black licorice is okay until it stops being okay. Online shopping is okay until it stops being okay. Eating food is okay until it stops being okay. Even okay things stop being okay when they no longer need your okay to be part of your life. Social media and our digital world, they're okay. There are many aspects of it that are incredibly beneficial. There were noble ideas behind the creation of many of these things. But even okay things become not okay when they start to master us. And that is definitely true and obviously true of the digital world we live in and of social media and of our technology. It has impacted us in ways that are moving it from okay to not okay. And I want you to see that in particular among the young generations. Some of you who are parents, you've seen this in your kids, but in particular with them, and not just them, it's true for all of us, but if it were only true for the young generations, we should still care. Let me just share a couple things with you that we've noticed happen within the younger generations since the smartphones came out, and in particular over the last decade. A 2017 study of over 500,000 8th through 12th graders found that the symptoms of depression in them had risen 33% between 2010 and 15 as smartphones became ubiquitous among their age group. During that same time frame, the suicide rate among young women, look around the church at the young women who are here. Look around your home. Think of the young women you know in your life. The suicide rate of 8th to 12th grade girls jumped 65%. Something's going on. Something isn't right. Anxiety levels were increasing when they had not had to really deal with anxiety in that age group as much before. There were issues, there was depression, but anxiety not on the level they're seeing. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. I don't know how many of you have seen it or watched it. It's very interesting. It's maybe a little over the top with some of their presentation, but I think every parent should watch it. Every parent who has teens or young adults should sit down and watch it with their teens and young adults and see, just get some glimpse of what's happening in the world around us with technology and what it could do, what it can do, and what it is doing. In there, I'll probably talk about it more over the next few weeks and certain things in it, but they interviewed one of the guys who used to work for Facebook who was the co-creator of the like button, the thumbs up. You remember when that started? Some of you have been around a while. They started the like button because, if someone posts something like, oh, here's my vacation photo, you're going to take the time, a very nice photo. That's hard to do. But now here was an easy way from their perspective. Wow, this is going to be an easy way for someone to say, hey, I really like your picture. Hey, I really like what you just said. And that's all it was at first. It was just a like button. There was no thumbs down button. There was no heart button, no I'm angry at you button. None of that. It was just a thumbs up. And this guy said, we thought we were doing something that was just going to bring more happiness in the world and encouragement into the world. He said, we had no idea that it would lead to skyrocketing rates of anxiety in teenage girls who would now judge their value based on how many likes they got today versus yesterday versus their friends and how many they were getting. He said, we had no idea the unintended consequence that would rise up when this took hold of humans who are looking for a God to worship and get things out of whack. Bill Maher said it in 2017. So this is kind of old news at this point, but this is what he said. He said, the tycoons of social media have to stop pretending that they're friendly nerd gods building a better world and admit they're just tobacco farmers in t-shirts selling an addictive product to children because, let's face it, checking your likes is the new smoking. Hang around some teenagers, and if it's not true for them, they'll tell you they definitely have friends who this is very, very painfully true for. And not just for them. It's true for adults, too. Research is showing, let me just read you the findings of one research group. It said, time spent on social networking websites led to higher psychological distress, an unmet need for mental health support, poor self-rated mental health, increased suicidal ideation. In conclusion, greater time spent on online social networking promotes self-harm behavior and suicidal ideation in vulnerable adolescents. Look, I have no trouble believing that because I spend just 5 minutes on Facebook and I want to kill somebody and I want to lose it. It drives me crazy. And how many of you parents have felt the impact of your children's relationship with their cell phones and social media on your household? Where you sit together for dinner and everyone's on their phone. You sit together in the living room and everyone's on their phone and not talking to one another. But how many of you also realize the problem didn't start with them on their phone, but with you on your phone? And before it was everybody on their phones, it was the dad not looking up from his TV. And before that, it was the dad not looking up from his newspaper. Adults, we set the tone here. There are all kinds of things we can throw our life at, our time, our intention at. And all of these mediums have been pulling at our attention for a long time. Social media has just become incredibly skilled at it. Far better than anything else. Look, there are beneficial things about social media and about digital technology. Our church is hanging together right now by half of us sitting at home watching over the internet, right? And connecting on Facebook and watching and being in groups over Zoom. There's all kinds of digital technology we're using to stay connected. It's okay until it's not okay. And so in some ways I feel like the guy sitting on the branch that I'm sawing off, but listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it's okay until it's not okay. There's a line that it crosses, and I'm deeply concerned because it's impacting our ability to have relationship. And I think the evidence of that we see around our nation and how polarized and divided our world has become, where people can't even talk to one another, where people are now taking the stance of you either agree completely with me or you're an enemy and an evil person. It's the complete and utter breakdown of human relationship because we've allowed this thing to take control of us, and it actually has served to divide us. We'll talk more about that over the coming weeks. But something goes from being okay to being not okay when it's no longer a tool we use, but now an overlord. When it's no longer asking permission to be part of my life, it's just there. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and I'm always on it. I'm always watching it. I'm always listening to it. And it's now shaping what I do as opposed to my relationship with God shaping what I do, my relationship with God's people shaping who I am and what I do. It's changing the way we speak and act. We're not a world of empathy and grace and mercy and love when we're supposed to be the people who are radiating that into the world because the Holy Spirit is in us. Is he, though? Or is something else taking control? Is something else shaping us and the way we think? Has something that was okay become not okay and start to master us? And I want to take a moment here to talk about the business model of social media, because I know some of you know this, or some of you understand this, and it's the kind of thing that's been happening for decades in different media, but social media, like I said, is so much better at it. And some of you, this isn't news to you. Others of you, I just want to make sure we all understand what's happening and what's going on, what's behind it, like what's happening with social media. What is it about it that's going on? So let's evaluate it for a second. Let me ask you this question. What do social media sites sell? What do they sell? And some people would think, oh, well, they're giving us entertainment, they're giving us connection, they're giving us information and news. None of that. They don't sell any of those things. What they sell is you. They sell us. They sell our attention. They take our attention, the minutes we spend, the focus we spend on them, they turn that into dollars with advertisers. Companies looking to sell their product, or people looking to get a message out and influence people. That's what they're selling. They're selling our attention. More than just our attention, they're selling the ability to serve up people who are ripe to be influenced, so that someone who wants to promote something can say, hey, I want to promote this idea. Can you give me a group of people who are ripe to be influenced this way? And they say, oh, yeah, we can. We can pull up a list right now of all the people who've looked at things similar to that. And then they can serve them up. So think about it this way. Newspapers at first, they said, you know what? A company comes to them and says, I want to get people to use my cigarettes, my brand of cigarettes, and just smoke cigarettes in general. So they go to the newspaper, and they find the one that reaches the most people. They put out a big ad, and they say, who's going to appeal to the people who will most buy cigarettes? The Marlboro Man. Let's put a picture of this rough guy, this rugged guy in the newspaper that reaches the most people, and so you have guys for a couple decades smoking cigarettes and dying of cancer because of that, right? They targeted it. Now, not very well. I mean, that's pretty broad. That's like a shotgun throwing stuff everywhere. But then, newspapers and magazines started coming out that catered to different people. So I could put my ad for dishwashers in Good Housekeeping, and my ad for rifles in Field and Stream, and my ad for sneakers in Track and Field. And now I'm reaching people who are more likely to buy my stuff. Now we're getting a little bit more precise. TV comes along and serves up an even bigger audience, even more shows. Now I can target, so Saturday morning, all the toy companies throw their ads out there. But during a football game, who's throwing their ads out there? Beer, food, cars. Even that's changed. If you watch the commercials from the Super Bowls for the last 30 years, you'll notice a slight shift in who's advertising during the Super Bowl, because the audience for the Super Bowl used to just be guys, and now it's become more and more like, everybody's watching it. And so you can just see, because now they're targeting more precisely. And then fast forward to today, and you have these tech companies who know and buy and sell our data. They know what sites you visited. They know what time you spent there, what articles you've spent the most on, what things you've clicked, the videos you've watched, the things you've been buying from credit card data. They gather all that stuff, and they can compile a very precise list. So a toilet paper company can come to them and say, we need to reach 1 million new customers. Show us people who are likely to buy and switch their brand of toilet paper. And they can come up and say, well, these are people who've tried different brands of toilet paper over the last few months. They might be shopping for them. Which this year doesn't apply because everyone's been buying whatever toilet paper they could find, scraps of paper here and there. But typically it would be, okay, these people obviously seem to be looking for that, and this person's the shopper in the household, so we're going to very narrowly serve up the people who you are most likely to be able to influence. I listened to an ad exec from Target a few years ago talk about how they had gotten so precise with their email advertising that they were freaking people out because they were sending them things that and they were like, how do they know I needed that? Like, are they listening on my conversations? Like, that's how precise they could be. They made the claim that there are times they knew someone was pregnant before they did, based on shopping habits and things like that. I don't know. But they had to start mixing up their ads. So instead of just sending like baby formula and carriage and diapers only in their weekly to this person, they would throw in socket wrenches and tires just to make it not feel so targeted and so invasive. They've gotten so precise. They're so good at reaching the people who are most likely to be influenced. And that's true for, you like this kind of news, you like that. Because the other thing that they become really good at, and it's genius, is they study our psychology and our biology and understand the way humans work and the reward system, and they become better and better at keeping us and holding us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on TikTok, in your Animal Crossing game or whatever Candy Crush game, just enough to keep you going and going so they have more of your time because they can sell your time. They can sell you to somebody who wants to influence you. Someone said in that documentary on Netflix, if you're not paying for it, then you're the product. I would almost say you're probably still the product even if you are paying a little bit for it. They sell us to companies who want to influence us to think their way or buy their stuff, And that's how they make money. And it works because that's why they're some of the richest people in the world, right? I'm not trying to say this is like the grand evil Death Star. I'm saying what was okay and has many good features to it, the ability to connect and hear people. And some of you are thinking this even now in your head, but you know what? I could never have connected with my great aunt so-and-so or my old friend yada yada and all that stuff. And yes, there are many good things. But what's okay, there's a point where it can become not okay. And it becomes not okay when it no longer needs our okay to be part of our life, when it starts to take over and master us, and we start giving it too much time and too much attention, right? How many of you have ever looked up and realized you just spent like an hour on YouTube watching videos, or TikTok, or who knows how much time on Facebook scrolling through people's, pages to see their vacation and what it was like? Do you know what the average daily time spent on social media sites is around our world? It's 3 hours. 3 hours a day is the average time a person in our world spends on social media every day this year. And you might think, oh, that's this year because of the pandemic. Last year it was 2.5. The year before that it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it's just going up. That's the average time people are spending on social media around our world. And when you're spending that much time and attention, whatever it is you're doing, wherever it is you're doing it, whoever it is you're talking to, that thing is influencing you and it's shaping you and taking control of parts of your life, and you don't realize it. And we're all sitting here thinking, I don't have time. But maybe you do. I want to do an experiment with you. Take out your phone if you don't already have it out, right? Because you're taking notes, not because you're surfing the internet while I'm talking, or Facebook. Take out your phone. At home, take out your phone. If you have an iPhone, go to Settings and Screen Time. If you have an Android phone, it's going to be called Digital Well-Being. All right? So just find that app. It's in Apple, in the iPhone. It's in Settings. It's called Screen Time. And in your Android device, it's called Digital Well-Being. I want you to pop that open. Now, here's what's going to happen. They start every week fresh. So today, it's only going to show however minutes you've been on today. But what I want you to do is right under that daily average in that little graph there on the iPhone, it says See All Activity. Click that. On your Android phone, Android phones users are supposed to be smarter tech people, so you figure it out. So look at that and then swipe the graph so you see last week, and that'll give you a picture. And don't answer this, don't call it out. How many hours a day does it say you were spending on your phone? And then when you click that See All Activity, it's going to also show you the apps you spent the most time on. For most of you, it's going to be Messages is going to be at the top. But look through. Where are you spending most of your time? And how much time is being spent there? Keep scrolling down. I know on the iPhone, it'll show you how many times you pick your phone up every day. It's picking it up and looking at it. How many times do you pick it up every day? Look at last week. Then, keep swiping. You can see the week before, too, and get a picture of what it looks like. Then you can keep going down and look at what apps you typically look at first after you pick up your phone. So you grab your phone, what are you looking at first? Usually it's going to be Messages, but what else? And don't think that Messages mean it's fine either. Messages can be an incredible distraction. Keep going down. I know on the iPhone that then has a listing of how many notifications you get every day. So notifications are, you're talking to your wife or your husband, you're talking to your friend, you're talking to your kids, and you're having a great conversation, and then all of a sudden your phone's like, ding, ding, hey, ding, hey, there's underwear at Walmart on sale. Like really important information to interrupt your conversation. And what do? You grab it and you look at it because you had to see that. That's what a notification is. How many notifications are you getting every day? How many times is your day being interrupted by a ding or some noise telling you, hey, look at me. Look at your screen. There's something important here that you need to see right now. Some of you looking at this at home and here should be horrified by what you see. And maybe your initial reaction for some of you is going to be horror. You got to go through this and analyze, right? Don't just assume it's horrible. But how much time is being spent on that device? Some of you may be feeling pretty prideful too. Some of you may look at your phone like I compared my phone use to a young adult woman's phone use the other day. we were talking about it, and my average phone time past week was less than an hour a day on my phone, and theirs was like almost 6 hours. I'm like, haha, I'm better than you. That's not what that means. Because then I go to my iPad, which I use way more often, and my use is probably, 4 to 5 hours a day. So what is it? What are you doing on it? Evaluate. Stop and take a look at yourself. How much is this taking in your attention? And it's not like your computer, too. How much time? And look, if you're feeling prideful about it, maybe you're not into stuff. Maybe you're older, right? And so you're not in social media and don't care about any of that stuff. Or you're just a young person who's decided to go against the trend. What about your TV use? Where is your time going? What holds your attention? What was okay stops being okay when it no longer needs your okay to be part of and to influence your life. And our devices, our technology, our relationship with social media, and all these things, all these ways to be reached and grabbed, they're starting to have too much control. And that was Paul's point. Yes, I'm free to do whatever I want. I'm free to use these things, but they're not all beneficial. They're not all helpful. And there's a point where they turn around and take control, and it's dangerous. Where what's okay stops being okay because it no longer asks you're okay to shape and influence your life. There was an earthquake in 1994 in Los Angeles, California. And, the ground shook all the way to Las Vegas. They felt it. And all of Northern California lost power, completely lost power. No electricity anywhere, so no lights anywhere. And LA is known as the city of lights. So about 2 million people woke up from this earthquake, looked outside and saw nothing, no street lights, no lights in their home, no little lights of things charging on their counters, nothing, no electric light anywhere. And they looked up in the sky, and there was this silvery gray cloud, and it freaked them out. They got scared because they thought, oh no, there's some kind of gas leak or something, or maybe it's aliens coming to invade us. And so they started calling 911. They started calling the local observatory to find out what is in the sky, what is this? You know what it was? It was the Milky Way. The galaxy our planet is a part of. Right? It was the Milky Way. They'd never seen it before. Because, again, LA is the city of lights. And you can see the lights of LA from 200 miles away in an airplane. And so all their lives they've gone out and they've never been able to see the natural sky. And here this happens, and now they look out and they can see the context they're in, the big picture of life on this planet and who we are, like they'd never seen it before. When Jesus was on this earth, he said, I am the light of the world. And I wonder how many of us haven't seen Jesus in a long time because we've been blinded by the lights of our screens. Haven't really seen him. Haven't really dug in and spent time praying and reading his word and reflecting on it. Because our attention's going to screens everywhere around us. Blinded to God's glory, deaf to his voice, too distracted to notice what he's doing, the context of his work in creation. Because we're just, I got to do this, I got to do that. Ding, 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 ding. What's happening in your life with this? God wants to set us free from it. And if we could just take some time and shut it all down, maybe for the first time in a long time, maybe for the first time ever, you could hear Jesus speak to you and to me and show us who we are, what our relationship with him is supposed to be like, and how to be in real relationship with other people.